Hello and welcome to AM1's vlog, where today I will be talking about economy, which is boring, but follow me here, follow me. Economy is kind of like the thing you don't want to have to worry about, the thing you don't want to have to think about. Strangely enough, it's the thing you might have to actually think about the most. It is quite easy in the beginning of your life to think, oh, no worries, things are going well. But if you start like relying on your parents too much, or if you're just thinking, oh, I have infinite sums of money because I can afford what I want now, you are in for a bit of a shock as you want to get your own car, which you have to pay for if your parents don't, because if your parents pay for your car, seriously, you are spoiled. And then let's not forget the matter of owning a house, very expensive. And then there are all kinds of insurances, and when you move for yourself, there's food expenses, and all these little things add up. And if you don't have control over what you spend, you're in big shit. Now, I was recently at a sort of economic course for students, which told us all the common traps you can fall in, and most of it I was familiar with, but I wasn't really aware of how big the sums could become, and especially when it came to down payment, because basically what it showed us was a few ads for cell phones, and it was like an iPhone, and it was really expensive if you wanted to buy it immediately, but then you have a small sum you could pay each month instead, and I was just, oh, okay, it seems better to pay that little sum. The problem was you had to pay that little sum for 60 months. Now, for any of you who did the math quite quickly, that's 5 years. Now, how many here uses their cell phone for effing 5 years? I've had one cell phone that lasted for that long, and that was that wasn't a smartphone, and it was a cheap phone. So, cheap phones, not many functions, and it wasn't a smartphone, so it worked forever basically until I decided, no, I actually need to get updated because everything's on a smartphone these days. So yes, so there's that, and you think that, oh well, but oh, if it's cheaper, then, but it's not cheaper. I mean, most people should know it's not cheaper to get things on down payment. That goes generally in the entire world. But the thing you gotta keep in mind is how much more expensive it is. And there was a 34% interest on that cell phone, on the down payment. And that doesn't sound like much, but in the end, although that interest on all those little payments meant that it actually cost you over twice the amount of what it would have cost you if you had just paid for it all at once. And that was staggering. I mean, 34% interest, that sounds like a lot to begin with, but there's so small sums you don't think about it, but there are so many of them that suddenly that just piles up. And then there's the fact that when you do in fact dispose of that phone after 2 or 3 years, at most probably, because phones don't last for 5 years, you still have to effing pay for the previous phone. There are probably some sort of sales where you get to stop paying for your phone, or a special case where you get to stop paying for your phone, or your TV, or computer, or whatever you buy. Same goes for all of them, basically. But it's a really interesting thing to keep in mind, and whenever you see something on down payment option, if you can't afford to buy it there and then, for the long run, you are actually way better off just buying it. Now, if there's something you can't afford but you actually need it, let's say a car, if you need it for work, you need it to take the kids to school, you need it to drive stuff everywhere, because that's what cars are used for. But the car is actually very useful and you need it, otherwise you can't get anywhere you need to go. So if you need a car and you can't afford a car at the time to pay the full sum, then you might want to actually pay the down payment, especially if it's down to whether or not you can keep your job, depending on whether you have a car. Like, I can't get to work because I don't have a car, so I don't have any income. So let's buy the car on down payment and then get an income, which will pay for the down payment and for a bit more. So it's like, there are exceptions to the rule. Do indeed go for down payment when you absolutely have to. But generally, remember, just swipe the card, take it all at one time. I hope you learned something from this. I hope it wasn't boring. It probably was. You can like and dislike depending on what you thought about what I said or the subject, or whether or not you just don't like my face. You can also tell me that stuff in the comments. But in the meantime, just remember, I am Anime Mixer 1 and I approve of this video.